We are starting our graffiti art project. And so, if you did not yesterday complete the blending exercises, you're going to want to do that with your oil pastels before you start this project. I mean, you certainly can watch this and go on, but you'll want to practice before um, you actually get to the project part. So there's a couple websites here. This one just has some examples of actual street art that someone has pulled together, probably nothing different than you could look at online. But this site is called graffiticreator.net. Um, we have used this in the past. So once you get to the main page, if you scroll down, these are 9 different fonts that they have available for you to use and experiment in a graffiti font. These are 9 different ones. And then to access them, each one you would just click load. And so there may be, because Adobe Flash Player and all that is changing, you might have to play with your settings up here, or um, just click allow like this. If you click on it, some computers are a little different. You might have to go up here and actually allow it. Um, so hopefully this will open for me now. Yeah. So you get, each one looks maybe a tiny bit different, but I'm just going to type in my name and click create, and here's this font. Now, you uh, this is just to play with. Um, you can move them around. You can also play with the width, and you can play with the height. You can select just certain letters. So I froze the L and all the others. Or if I wanted to make more of a capital L, I could freeze the rest of these and kind of make that so it's significantly bigger. And this is just a play around, and it certainly is not to be traced. You guys are beyond that level, um, where we're not tracing a font. You can use it for inspiration, but don't lay your paper over the top of this and trace this, because that just makes it a coloring book exercise at that point. You also, here's another one, rotation. You can play with all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to unlock those letters. There's some coloring things you can do down here to play, and you can choose colors and apply them in different ways. Um, oh, maybe. Anyway, they're all just a tiny, there's some flames, there's some different things coming. Um, and you can play with that, and it's just to give you some color inspiration. Um, it really, it's just to play, really truly. But you can kind of look at some different fonts. They're all a little bit different. Some are more angular, some are more bubbly, rounded edges. Um, then so now our project is that we're going to go on and do your own name in a graffiti font. If one of those 9 fonts was not something that you want to use, you can certainly just Google. I would Google graffiti fonts, and then it's going to give you pages and pages of choices. So your first part of this is to find some different ones that you might like. If we were in class, so I would be having you sketch 3 different ones. I'm not going to keep you accountable to that and make you do that and turn it in. It's just always a good practice to give yourself different options. Sometimes we think that the first thing that we do is the best, and sometimes our brain takes what we've already practiced and merges it into another idea. You need to make sure that you overlap your letters. That's one thing that makes graffiti graffiti. Overlapping the letters, blending your colors, and showing some sort of three-dimensional thickness to your letters. Even if it's just some sort of outlining, like around the word Katie here, or you could actually do a 3D depth that is shown in that one. You will need to think about the background. The background is as much part of the artwork as your name, but here's that color blending. Their background is very different from the rest of the colors that they chose, but it can be similar like on this one, just darker. A lot of different options. This one doesn't have maybe enough of that depth to it. I'd be looking for something more like this. And notice how they have used your space. You have you're just going to put this into your sketchbook and use the entire page. So you're going to want to turn your sketchbook paper to the side and use that the long way so that you can use your space the best possible. Um, if you have construction paper, you could do a black um, instead of your white paper. That would be okay too. So these are just some different examples. Obviously, not all of my examples are names, but you will be using your name. Now, your background, you also need to use at least two colors. So, your name, you need to use at least two colors. You need to overlap your letters, use your space, and show that depth of the thickness of the letters. Your background, you need to find something that uses at least two colors to create that background. Whether they're opposites, if you're using more warm colors, you might want to go for a cool color, something that gives a little more contrast. Think complementary colors. They complement each other on the color wheel because they go together in that they give good contrast to each other. So that said, backgrounds do not have to be colored completely. They can be some sort of design. I mean, you could, if you want to put this some sort of picture or something, but like this could be enough to set off your lettering. It could be a complete background. So you can see where you're going to want to think this through before you start with your name so that you can plan that out. So while you don't have to cover your full paper, you do still have to use your space. Um, it's hard. It's a hard concept to teach and sometimes to understand. But basically, if you are left feeling that a part of your paper is empty and there should be something there, like it just doesn't feel quite right, it's probably your inner artist telling you that you need to use some more of that space up, or maybe you just drew it too small. But the other way to go too is some people draw too big on this one and they run out of room. So be careful about that. You want to sketch out everything in pencil first. Just remember too, though, with oil pastels, once you go over that pencil, and if it's a lighter color, the pencil line will show through, and then that's it. You can't get that out of there. And all of these could have color on them. They don't have to be black and white. Just showing you some different examples of backgrounds. A lot of these, just some arrows or shapes, splotches, repetition of circles, lines, um, just to set something off. Even this could be just a some simpler examples of graffiti. You could do, a wall in the background if you wanted. Here again is your grading criteria. I will be linking in a rubric for you, but I am looking for you to show value. And so that what that means is I'm looking for you to blend at least two colors in your lettering. Layering, like I showed you in the practice yesterday, is what I'm looking for. That also needs to be evident in the background, looking for your overlapped lettering, not spacing in between like up here, but that over each other sloppy, uncontrolled, sporadic lettering. And then where you need to show that depth in your lettering so that those letters have that thickness to them. And then, of course, like I talked about, using your space.